Every once in a while, somebody will ask a question that is so compelling that I just have to insert it in front of other questions. And today I got one of those questions. It's the question that nobody ever answers. Not that people don't ask, it's that other people just don't answer the question, and they don't answer it for probably one of many reasons. And here's what it is. How do you get an investor to say yes? How do you actually move the money from the investor into the deal? How does that happen? I would like to guess a couple of the reasons why other people don't talk about it. The most obvious one to me is that maybe they don't really know. Maybe a lot of these people who tell you that they know a lot about moving money and raising money and talking about money really know an awful lot less about the money than they say. The real estate and the money are not the same. The same people who are really great at running real estate opportunities are not necessarily fundraisers. Fundraising is a special skill. It's an art form, and it's something that you need to learn. And let me put it like this. Syndicators know how to raise money. So you either learn how to raise money and become a syndicator, or you can go work for one. If you can't raise money, you can't be a syndicator or a fund manager, sponsor, promoter. You can't be any of those things because they all require that you raise money. Now, once in a while, you can find somebody to broker money to you. Once in a while, you're going to be able to find people who make referrals. But largely, you have to be able to close the business. And in order to make this happen, you need to be able to handle your affairs in a couple of ways. And here's what happens. In order to get a person to say yes, before anything else, you have to organize yourself for people to be able to say yes. That means you structure a transaction investors can say yes to. Now, most of these issues we've addressed in other videos. And so you can go back and you can look through these issues and you can study them more carefully. But here's what this means. Number one, you have to put out a deal people can say yes to. The terms have to be friendly. It has to be fair. It has to be reasonable. There's got to be a fair rate of return. There's got to be a good preferred. There's got to be a good profit sharing. The fees have to be reasonable. Doesn't mean free, but they have to be fair. And that's the first most important thing is you got to set up a deal that's fair. The second thing is you have to be able to document that you know what you're doing. You have to instill confidence in your investors that you've got a track record, that you've got background, that you know a little bit about this business, and that you can make it happen. Now, a track record doesn't necessarily mean that you've syndicated 100 deals, but it does mean that you've done a number of deals, because the fact that you're doing them in a syndication or a fund structure is a lot less important than the fact that you've done deals at all. So you must be able to document that you've done deals so that people can get onto your coattails and ride with you. And the final thing is that you have to start looking for investors. And we're not talking about active investors. Real estate brokers, for example, mostly work with active investors. Those are people that buy the house themselves. So real estate brokers, by and large, do not have the same network as a syndicator who might have a network of passive investors that are looking for deals. So here's the next part. Where are the passive investors? I recently did something, I made a video about where passive investors are. So you have to start looking for passive investors. Right now, many people are very familiar with finding money from hard money lenders, private money lenders, because that's what they look for. They're looking for those kinds of people. I don't so much call those investors, I call those lenders. Those are people who are making loans and they're putting out money on the street. I don't think of that as raising capital because you're basically borrowing. Borrowing is a little bit different. I think of raising capital as putting together your equity structure, which is really the hardest capital to come by and the hardest capital to put together, because there just aren't people walking around brokering that kind of money. It really is much more difficult, and it's based largely on trust. So you have to be organized to start finding it. You have to look for it. And once that happens, then you can start putting together lists of people who would be interested in your deal. And although I've talked about this a little bit before, I'll talk about it here again. When you meet people, you start a little Excel spreadsheet or some kind of a list in your Evernote or however you keep your records. And you say to people, hey, listen, are you interested in talking about real estate? Are you interested in making any money on real estate? Do you need any exposure to real estate in any of your portfolios? And people are going to frequently say, yeah, I'd like to have access to more real estate, but I'm not really in the business. I don't really know how to do it. Well, listen, that's what I do. I'm very good at it. maybe we can work together on some projects. And they immediately know that that's probably going to mean that you're going to do a lot of the work, and they're going to probably support you in some financial capacity, and there'll be a revenue share. You'll explain that to them. And once that happens, you say, listen, I don't have anything available right now because you need to have private placement documents and other kinds of materials. You say, listen, once I organize something, how about I call you back in the next month or 2 or 3 or whatever your time frame is going to be? And they're either going to say yes or no or whatever they say. And if they say yes, then you say, listen, no commitment here, but if I find something that's suitable, what's the likely ballpark number of dollars that you might want to put into the deal? And they'll tell you what their likely ballpark is. And so you're going to put that together and organize yourself in a reasonable way. And once you mark that down, then when you finally get your deal, you come back to them and you invite them into your deal. And we can go into more details about that later. But in the meantime, this is a great business. Just go out and stake your claim.